The Macho Man, Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey. The sky's the limit and the space is the place on Top Rope Wrestling Podcast. Coming to you from Eventide Entertainment. Dig it!
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode, the Road to Wrestlemania Preview episode of Top Rope Wrestling Podcast. I am your co-host, Aaron Lopez, as always, with Ben Norsworthy. Thanks for coming again, Ben.
We're only 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away from WrestleMania, New Orleans.
Pumped. I actually found out today that a coworker of mine is going, and I am extremely jealous. Extremely jealous. I don't know if I ever will go to WrestleMania. I'll probably, at some point, it'll be a bucket list, but I'm going to feel bad that I'm going to spend that much money to be that uncomfortable and barely see anything.
Yeah. I don't enjoy going to events where half the time you have to look at the screen to see what's actually going on. I would rather just stay at home, watch it on the network, and just enjoy myself.
Well, that's kind of something too. Is it's not about being there. It's about the atmosphere. It's not, you can go back and you can watch the replays on network or anything like that. But being there when something like Matt and Jeff Hardy come back after being away for 10 years, that you got to say that you saw the Undertaker streak broken, those kind of things. Yeah. That's lifelong experiences and memories there. But
did you ask? I wonder how much tickets were.
I don't know.
I mean, they got to be in the thousands, right?
At least.
Super Bowl-esque.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I know that a lot of these packages are putting it out there for like tickets, and it's like starting at like $4,000 or $5,000 for just tickets. But then you get airfare and like and hotel, which that's not bad. But that's your one blowout for the year, pretty much, unless you're making bank somewhere else.
Yeah, 2 weeks away. Okay, I'm very excited. And as we're going to discuss on the podcast today, things are coming together pretty fast.
Very quickly.
I mean, every Raw and SmackDown, something's being added. And I feel like even the last go-home show of SmackDown and Raw, they will still add something else to the card.
Well, at this point, we have at least one that we've got to add. We still do not have a place for John Cena, Undertaker. It's pretty much more or less a guarantee at this point, but we have not yet had it added. Taker has been completely silent. They are really pushing this slow build, but I think that we are probably going to be seeing Taker in some fashion next week in our final go-home episode of Raw. That'd be my prediction there. Not sure if we have anything else that we really need as far as main SmackDown, but you never know. They already have 13 matches on the card, a 14th with the Undertaker and Cena match that'll probably be announced this next week, and you never know, maybe 15. We're probably going to end up with 5 hours of WrestleMania, including pre-show.
And you know what? And I'm okay with that because when I was looking at this card later, there really isn't a bad match on the card. At least just for the main show. I was looking at it and I'm just like, I would sit there and watch everyone. There's no getting up, getting a snack and a drink during a match or doing something, cleaning dishes. Every match on the card so far looks like to be a really stellar match.
Yeah, I agree to that. I think that I remember last year, the one match I didn't care about at all was the six-pack challenge women's for the title on SmackDown, where Naomi ended up winning. You just kind of had a feeling she was going to. She came back. It was kind of like, well, we already know what's going to happen. There really wasn't as much. I mean, when Alicia Fox is one of the big players, it's not that strong of a match. She's not a very strong performer. So I think that I'd agree with you. I think this year, for me, the weakest match is maybe Bliss and Jax, and that's not even a weak match. That's going to be a strong match, in the end. So. But we've got a little bit of news to get started before we jump into our discussion of the card. Obviously, the very biggest piece of news that has happened between our last episode and this one is that Daniel Bryan has been cleared to wrestle.
Dreams come true.
Oh my God. Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles and Nakamura and all these. Oh, it can happen now. Daniel Bryan and Finn Balor. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, that was that broke. I think I texted you or something. That broke during the middle of this day that all the doctors had cleared him.
Yep.
WWE had cleared him because of these doctors. He had to go to several doctors to get cleared. But it's true. It's true. It's damn true. Daniel Bryan is going to wrestle again. His first match being back here at WrestleMania in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I actually remember, I thought I was very privileged. It was the SmackDown before Fastlane, the year that after he retired, or before he retired. And I remember watching him. It was him and Roman Reigns versus, and they went through like a tag team turmoil kind of a match on SmackDown. And that almost the entire SmackDown was that. It was like an hour-long match. It was kind of boring to only see that, but to say that you got to watch Daniel Bryan wrestle, and there was something to it. The yes movement when that happened, being there, oh my God, it was real.
Back in, this car probably was 6 or 7 years ago. My wife had gotten me tickets to a Raw for me and her brother to go to, and we got good seats. Like we're like sitting semi behind the announce table, folded chairs, like really good seats.
Nice.
And then we got the tickets, and then like the next night on Raw, they announced that was when Bret Hart was going to come back and make his return to the WWE, which was fantastic within itself. Mm-hmm. But I remember taking me and my brother-in-law Clint, we went to the show, and the dark match was Daniel Bryan. But it was Bryan Danielson. And he was good. He was fast. He was kind of smaller than what he was. But he was good, and he really got the crowd behind him in that early stage. I mean, I know he had an independent following before that, but, it was funny because everybody was shouting Bryan, Danielson. But yeah, I'm lucky to have gone to that and gotten to see him in his early WWE development.
Well, I think that at least for this generation, what he did is he made it possible for people like Kevin Owens and Finn Balor to make it to WWE.
Because Vince loves his big guys.
He likes the big guys. It's an indie darling, somebody who really, really did amazing things on the independent circuit, who is not a big guy that had success, and he got the crowd. That's the biggest thing. If the crowd's behind you, I mean, look at Rusev. Rusev gets added to a match last night on the second to last SmackDown before Mania, and he had no business being in. There's no reason storyline wise for him to be in there, but the crowd is begging for more Rusev Day. So there we go. The crowd gets behind you, you have a shot.
Yeah, and it's funny. You talking about like the smaller guys like the Finn Balor's or even Seth Rollins. Mm-hmm. I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking about how, it was a podcast about Shawn Michaels and his career, and how at one point Vince said, fuck it, I'm not ever going to make him a champion. He's too small. Mm-hmm. And you look at that, what we consider some of the greatest generational wrestling of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and they were not these big, buff guys. They weren't these giants, but they're the ones that we remember through that generation leading to the Attitude Era.
Well, and even Stone Cold. Stone Cold wasn't a big guy.
No, he's not.
The Rock isn't. Well, he wasn't. He's jacked now, but he was not a huge guy.
Coming
he had
from
pedigree.
Yeah, coming from the Hogans and the Ultimate Warriors and your Andre the Giants and your Big John Studs into Shawn Michaels, and then he kind of flipped a little bit and went back to like Diesel and Kevin Nash and these big guys and the Undertaker and Sid, and then and it goes back into the little guys, which I appreciate, because I'm sorry, there's only so much a big guy can do in a ring. Mm-hmm.
That's why I get more and more impressed every day I see Braun Strowman wrestle, because he was horrible when he started. He
had
barely,
like 3 moves.
Yeah, he basically just was big. They tried to punch. He'd throw him around. He'd body slam. Like, now he actually performs,
but he's evolving.
He's evolved majorly. I think that you look at a character like Ryback. He never evolved. He was the same character the whole time. So I do appreciate this back and forth. I think we're getting closer to a resurgence of the smaller guys, just because Lesnar's going to probably end up dropping the belt and going off to UFC in the next 5-6 months. And after you get him out of the way, there's no one on the Raw card, at least specifically, that I believe is untouchable. I think Reigns at some point is going to end up chasing the belt again. If they're going to keep him babyface, he's going to have to end up chasing the belt, because that's what babies do.
Babyface with a long title reign gets stale. Mm-hmm. There has to be some type of conflict for him to, like you said, chasing the belt. There has to be. Maybe he gets screwed out of it. Maybe he loses it on a bad night. But I agree with you.
Other than that, so the Daniel Bryan news was huge. Any other large wrestling news that has broken in the last week or two?
Yeah, real quick. The night before WrestleMania, we have the WWE Hall of Fame induction, and a couple of news and notes from that. One, Double J Jeff Jarrett is being put in, and he will be inducted by Road Dogg Jesse James.
I saw that. Was it yesterday? They think they announced it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
If you don't know, if you've never seen back in the early to mid '90s, their gimmick between Double J Jeff Jarrett, the country singer, and his roadie, the Road Dogg, go back in on the network and look at it. It's pretty good stuff. I know Jeff Jarrett kind of gets crapped on in some places, but that was really, I thought, he was a bad guy you hated. Like, you just wanted to punch him in the face.
Yeah, I compare him to our generation's Miz.
Yeah.
Just really good at being hated.
Yeah.
He
could talk.
Good.
He had in-ring skills.
Mm-hmm.
When I remember growing up watching, I was like, God, that guy's so smug and just so... Yeah, I don't think he gets enough credit.
Yeah.
And I think what he did afterwards and stuff with TNA, people tend to look at him what's recent. Mm-hmm. Jesse James will be inducting Jeff Jarrett. Bill Goldberg, who's the head of the class, will be inducted by Paul Heyman, which I found a little interesting.
I like it, but I don't like it. I understand why they're doing it, because in the past, basically all of what Goldberg has done in WWE, Heyman's been around.
Yes.
Heyman's also not an original WWE guy like Goldberg isn't. So I see it from that point. I think there's got to be somebody better, though.
Could they bring back Hogan? I know they're in the midst of talking to Hogan as a administrative type role.
If they bring back Hogan, it would make sense for it to be for the head of the class, but it's actually Hillbilly Jim that wanted him to come back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that if you bring back Hogan, you're making Hogan's return bigger than the Goldberg's induction.
That's true.
So if they bring him back, they'll bring him back.
Because he's been away for so long.
Yeah. I think if they bring him back, if in any fashion, it's going to be way before a big event. Because they don't want his return to be bigger than whatever it is he's returning for.
And don't you think Paul Heyman would be able to give that nice little spit shine to Goldberg's career? It wasn't that long of a career compared to others, but I think one of the reasons they went Paul Heyman is he'd give it a nice little spit shine.
There's never been a time that Heyman has spoken that I haven't listened.
Yeah.
He is one of the best guys on the mic. He literally could sell any match as a headline. He just has the ability to make anything strong. And so I think for whatever reason they gave it to him, and it's going to be an awesome induction. I think he'll set him up very well. Confused by it a little bit, but I definitely see some of the reasoning. So
it looks to be like a very full Hall of Fame class. I'm not sure if they'll add one more, like we were talking earlier. It's getting down to the nitty gritty here, and it's already a pretty stacked Hall of Fame class. Not quite sure if they're going to add another one by next week.
Yeah, I think that, the problem right now is you have a lot. You have your female wrestler in Ivory. Mark Henry's been added recently. You've got Hillbilly Jim. You have the Dudley Boys, Goldberg, and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah,
that's probably it. And you also have Kid Rock.
And Kid Rock.
And you have the Connors.
And this can't be a 4-hour show.
Yeah, the Ultimate Warrior one that's going out too. So that's I don't think we'll get anybody else. I think we'll end up seeing some of these that we keep talking about. Bam Bam Bigelow's been name dropped constantly is one of those, but we're not. I don't think we're going to get any more this year. It's stacked. And for me, it's the first time that I've seen almost a top to bottom where I remember watching these guys. Yeah. Some of the other ones I hadn't gotten into it yet. Some of the older ones like last year, there were a couple that I knew who they were and I'd seen old stuff with them, but I don't remember watching them growing up. This is almost top to bottom. Hillbilly Jim's the one that I didn't watch him actually wrestle. That was
a little bit before our time.
Yeah.
Edge and Christian are inducting the Dudley Boys, which I think is perfect.
Oh yeah,
perfect.
I wouldn't even mind seeing Matt and Jeff make their way out there at the end of it or something, and because those 6 guys together completely revolutionized tag team wrestling in the Attitude Era. All right. Any other stories before we get into the specifics?
That's all I got for now, but more news is posted daily on our Facebook page, Top Rope Wrestling Podcast at Facebook, which you can go and check out. There are daily news, stories, rumors, and innuendos posted. Please check that out. Like us. We want to improve our following.
Yeah.
And just go and check us out. If you're looking for good wrestling news, check it out. Top Rope Wrestling Podcast at Facebook.
Yeah, again, I go through my feed and I actually have a couple of pages that I had liked, and I keep thinking that, there's stuff from that. Nope. Ben's got it up to date, and every time I see something pop on my feed, it's him shooting up some new messages and some information. So, and instantly, I've been impressed. So, check that out, guys. Like us on Facebook and be up to date. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. Let's look at our what we are predicting to be the first 3 matches of the night. We're probably looking at maybe even 6 hours of WrestleMania. I know we're going to get a 4-hour show because the 4-hour show has been what they've done the past couple of years. And the pre-show probably end up being a couple hours because they'll throw 2 to 3 matches in with that. But again, like we talked about last time, the pre-show is not like usual. It is actually got some wrestling in it.
Yeah.
So the WrestleMania pre-show is not like the others. So if you guys are kind of iffy on that, check out the pre-show. You're going to get some good matches.
And with the card that they're putting out there, they're going to have several matches during the pre-show if they're going to get these people out there.
Yeah.
We got 13 so far.
Yep. Well,
not confirming the Undertaker, John Cena. So I expect a little bit of commentary, a little bit of backstory, and then matches.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if we get anything less than 3. We'll probably find out what those will be, within a couple days before. Yeah. They don't completely keep it in the dark, but they'll definitely. And you got to remember too, there's almost a 15th match thrown in there when they do the Hall of Fame class presentation. I think that they spend 15 minutes introducing everybody, and then they do a song too.
Yeah,
it's going to be a 6-hour show.
Yeah, I remember. It's just funny to me. I remember being a kid and watching like this, and just I wish this was longer. Like it was just a good time watching this. And then now, as I'm an adult and I got things to do, but I also want to watch it. It's like this is 6 hours long. It's really approaching long. Super Bowl time on coverage of it.
Yeah, it's ungodly long at this point. But the thing is at least this year you feel like you're not wasting your time.
Correct.
You feel like you're getting a full card. So
yeah. And I've watched many WrestleManias where the card was much, much weaker than what they're putting out for this year. I'm very actually excited for this card.
So with that being said, clearly though, we have to put some of these shows into the pre-show. Or sorry, one of these matches, some of them need to get into the pre-show. First one that jumps to mind is, for me at least, would be the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It's been the pre-show the last couple of years.
And why would they change?
Exactly.
Names are still starting to filter in who's going to be in this. Mojo Rawley. Mm-hmm. Who else did they say?
I think at this point, I'm online, says the only names that have been announced are Dolph Ziggler, Matt Hardy, The Revival, Mojo Rawley, Baron Corbin, Ty Dillinger, and Breezango. So they're gonna get some old people, some old names.
Are they not gonna have Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania?
I don't think so, unless he comes back with Matt, but that'd be too soon.
Yeah,
I think we might see Bray after Mania, but even then, I think they're gonna keep him off for a couple months. If they want to do it right, if they build it up this much, I don't think Bray's gonna be at Mania this year. Just
give him a nice little break. I was thinking earlier, this would be a perfect opportunity for them to have Big Cass return.
I definitely agree.
Very close to returning, if not ready to return, and they're just biding their time. I think this would be a big opportunity for him to come out, distance himself from Enzo and that tag team that they had, and he's Big Cass. Big Cass wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
And for once, they can actually have the winner go and do something. They tried it with Corbin. Corbin seemed forced because he came up from NXT. And then if you're not an NXT follower, exactly, they don't know who he is. So then he wins, and then they're like, "Oh, he's getting a push." I guess that was his debut. Cass is established. Cass was one of the 4 guys that they said, "Let's make it believable that you could win the belt, the Universal Championship."
Yeah.
And I think that Cass is somebody who no one actually thought he'd win it, but the fact that he was one of the 4 guys after Balor got hurt, that shows that the company believes in him.
Yeah.
Now they already separated him from Enzo. They wanted him to go single. Now they can. I think that's a really good call. I hadn't even thought about it. I honestly don't care about the Andre the Giant battle royal.
He would get a really good pop. He's coming back. Oh, it seems like forever since he's been on TV.
It's been a while.
And if he comes out and wins it, I feel like the WWE has a good launching point for him in his singles career.
People may actually care about this match next year if he wins it this year.
Yeah. That could be almost like the point of the match, because in WrestleMania you always have somebody coming back from something, and this could be that big pop for them.
Yeah, and they need something exciting to happen in the pre-show. That would be it. You're going to get your legends that come back. I know Tatanka came back one year, and no one even said anything. They're like, it was basically after he got eliminated. I think it was Michael Cole goes, "Was that Tatanka? Like, you brought him back, and then you didn't even talk about it."
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, we're gonna get some names added. Basically, if you're on the roster, you had mentioned him. Zack Ryder will probably make his way. If you're on the roster and you're not on a major match, you'll probably make your way into the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. The other one that definitely feels like it is a pre-show match is the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yep.
Cedric Alexander going against Mustafa Ali. It is a vacated title currently. This is the finals of the tournament.
Yep, they've been pushing it. It was vacated by
Enzo.
Yeah. And they've been doing a tournament on 205 Live for almost about a month or so now. And this will be the final culmination. I really don't think that they're going to put this on the main stage, the main show. I feel like this would be a good match to get the crowd warmed up. Maybe like right out the gate, the first match of the pre-show. I'm looking forward to it. I always enjoy the cruiserweights. I'm not too familiar with some of the people in 205 because I try to get to the show when I can. But I want the cruiserweight division to succeed.
Yeah, and I think it has its place, and a lot of people kind of see, if you are in pre-show, that it's bad. No, pre-show means that you're not hype enough. There's not enough of a buzz around your match for it to be one of the major matches, but you're important enough because people need to get excited. And I remember, this whole concept of cruiserweights. Cruiserweights do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
They are very athletic, very talented, and they're going to get people to start paying attention. I remember last year when Neville was going, and I don't even remember who he was. Oh, was it TJ Perkins, I think. But Neville had an amazing match, and this is when he started really just losing it because they were throwing the beach ball around, and it's like, the problem right now is that the cruiserweights are better than some of these other matches. Like, I honestly think cruiserweights could be better than the Fatal 4-Way for the U.S. Championship. I think it could be better than Bliss and Jax. I know it's going to be better than Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie. That's going to be a few spots and some excitement, but it's not going to be a good match. The cruiserweights definitely have the ability to steal the show. They don't have the names, though, to do it.
But look what they have to go up against. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, which has stayed hot.
Yeah.
And then there's 205 Live.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they have their work cut out for them. It's about name recognition. It's about having one or two people that you could put your brand behind and have them carry it for a while until they get a following.
And that's the problem. I really wish they'd get rid of 205 Live and put a little bit, and basically not try to take 25 guys and put them onto a show where it's like half the people. They eventually got rid of this with the tournament. I think it was a blessing in disguise with Enzo's situation, having them to have to let him go. But I think that when you look at it, it's the 205 Live is better when it doesn't have to focus on storylines and it just focuses on athleticism.
So are you saying that they should just mix in the cruiserweights with the general population of Raw and SmackDown?
Yes. Have a traveling champion like they used to do when they still had split brands with the tag team before they did that. Have a traveling champion.
And just the weight class, and you have to meet this weight requirement.
Because you're getting guys that are coming on. Roderick Strong from NXT, who's as big as anybody, he's going to come up and he's going to go to 205 because he's little.
Yeah.
And no one's going to watch him, ever. You're going to see him get into a couple matches, eventually make his way into a maybe one of these pay-per-view matches, because they get one match one match a pay-per-view. That's the only time you're going to see him. And if you're not watching NXT, you're not going to know who he is. The guy's phenomenal. The same thing with what's his name down there? I can't remember his name. He's newer. He's with I can't even think.
I'm drawing a blank.
I can't think. But a lot of these NXT indie wrestlers are going to go up to the main roster eventually, and they're going to get stashed away into 205.
Yeah. Hearing you talk about it, I'm on the same boat. They should just totally get away with the 205 and just mix them in. Why can't they be a part of the general shows of Raw? That's more faces watching them.
Mm-hmm. Because they were so close to dropping 205 after about 2 months of it, because no one's watching it. Because you have to go onto the network and watch it. If anything, make SmackDown a 3-hour show, but make, as far as the commitment to the network, you already have it in with 3 hours with Raw, so the next night another 3-hour show, but after the 2 hours is done, you end this one show and then start 205 like they do, but don't put it on the network.
Yeah.
Because no one's watching it. It's, if someone's sitting down and watching SmackDown, they're watching it on USA. Then they have to flip over to the network to watch it, and if they're not interested, the eyes aren't going to go there.
Why aren't we in charge of the network?
I don't know.
What?
Because
somebody's listening.
Somebody.
Aaron Lopez, Benjamin Norsworthy. We could use a job. We'll fix it. We'll get 205 on the map.
We will. As long as USA wants to give you another hour on Tuesday nights.
As long as that doesn't cut into the dog show.
Exactly.
We'll be good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good match. We're not doing picks yet. We'll hold those for later. But I think that, Alexander and Ali were two that definitely stood out in the Cruiserweight Classic but last year. And I think that those two are ones that the crowd is getting behind them. Alexander got hurt a few months ago, and that's when 205 started to struggle. And so that I don't know if it's a coincidence or there's a correlation there, but he's phenomenal. And Ali's definitely had some of these matches that with him and Gulak, they've definitely done some really cool things. Speaking of the cruiserweights, I think that's where you'll get a lot more. You'll get a handful of cruiserweights thrown into the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
You think?
Yeah. Like we'll get some Gulak. We'll probably get...
we'll get some NXT guys too.
We'll get a lot of NXT guys. Some that they just want to kind of test and some that are going to debut.
Yeah.
So... the third match we had thought about, and I'm split on this. Ben thinks it's going to be in the pre-show. I think it's going to make its way into the main card, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the pre-show. Is the Women's Battle Royal? The name was changed. Did you notice that?
Yeah, not the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal anymore due to some backlash that WWE received. Mm-hmm. If you haven't heard some of the backstory on the Fabulous Moolah and what she was like to work with back in her day, research it, Google it, throw it into your Google machine, and just have a gander, because history has not been kind to some of the things that she did during her time in wrestling.
Yeah, it made a lot of people upset. And I know she is. I can see why they went that route, because she's a very influential, important person for the business. However, there's a lot of things that she did in order to get to where she was that is very common knowledge, that it felt like it was an oversight in the HR department before they said, yeah, let's call it the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal.
And let's just hope that nobody knows the backstory or about her past in certain areas of wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling fans aren't stupid. They know their history. And so this one jumped up. At some point, I think that they'll change it. Maybe even the night of, they'll call it the Mae Young. Why wouldn't you call it Mae Young? I mean, Mae Young, it got the women's champion, the women's invitational, kind of the Cruiserweight Classic version of that. So I think that she deserves it. And if you want to throw it somewhere else, throw it somewhere else. But
or if it's WrestleMania, what's wrong with Wendy Richards?
Yeah,
or Trish Stratus? Yeah. Or these are all iconic women of wrestling, especially in the WWE. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm interested to see. We're going to see in that's where we're going to get our Bayley and Sasha. Apparently,
so we were totally wrong on that.
We missed the boat on that one.
A couple of weeks ago, we were like, "Yep, this is probably going to end up being a match at WrestleMania." And then I was kind of surprised that last week they had just added Sasha to the Women's Battle Royal. It's like, well, I guess they're going in a different direction with this.
The difference between this Battle Royal and the Andre the Giant is it's actually going to be good. Because you've got some very, very talented females.
You do. Any indication of what the Royal Rumble was like back in January, this should be a pretty good match.
And you're going to get a few that maybe they couldn't entice to come back for the Royal Rumble, that'll come back for a smaller, probably a bigger payday. Yeah. And maybe we'll even see Medusa, Lunder Blaze will come back for this one. We might see a handful, but if we don't, we're still going to get something awesome because you've got Carmella, you've got Becky Lynch, you've got Naomi, you've got Natalya, Banks and Bayley. Yeah, there's a lot of top-notch talent going into this. People who were only a month ago in the running for a championship belt. And
again, you could see a couple from NXT come up also and make their debut.
Yeah, and I can't Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. Uh-huh. I think those two. If they don't come up for this, they will be debuting the Monday or Tuesday after. I can almost guarantee you that. They should have been called up a long time ago.
I just don't see how, with the way the card is stacked with the women matches, I don't see them putting this on the main show.
Probably not. And that the only reason why I say it could is because they've been really putting more eyes on the first evers, and giving the women their due. So that'd be the only reason.
So what takes its place?
It's a good question.
Do we have the Usos and New Day and Bludgeon Brothers take that?
I would normally 100% say yes. Had the Usos not made one of their promos in the build-up to Mania about not ever having been on the main card at WrestleMania. I don't think they say that and then get bumped. If they do, then the business is basically telling the Usos, we don't care about you. You really are a joke to us. I think right now the New Day's too hot to be only on, and Usos, Bludgeon Brothers, all of them, way too hot to put them onto the
So if I'm looking at this list, then the only thing I see is either Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax or Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode versus Jinder Mahal versus Rusev.
That's the one I would say. I'd say U.S. Championship. Orton is not the draw that he used to be.
No.
Roode is kind of like, all four of those guys are very talented, but they're not main guys anymore. The fact that they're the U.S. Championship, one belt has been defended on each of the WWE or the WrestleMania pre-show matches. So right now, if we were going to put both Battle Royals there, we got to have a belt. And I would say the Cruiserweight, I don't consider that because it's not a title defense. It's more like a match and then the winner just gets to walk away. So I'd say we're going to see the Cruiserweight, the Andre the Giant, and the U.S.
And I say Cruiserweight, Andre the Giant, and the Women's Battle Royal.
So we will see. Actually, we're going to definitely, there is a Reddit user that I always go to, and I can't remember his name right now, but he puts out a scorecard. We'll be printing those off, and so we'll have to make sure we do that. But we will utilize what we say today as at least the foundation for it. There's a lot of like bonus points that
it's on record.
It's on record. We can't go back on it unless something major happens where like a match changes because of injury.
So is this where we see the final separation of Sasha and Bayley?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So one of the other one screws the other one out of the Battle Royal, and then
they've completely missed the mark on this.
Because this could have been a WrestleMania.
This should have been a WrestleMania match. No, I think they missed the mark when they had Banks push if Banks pushing Bayley off of the pod at Elimination Chamber, that should have been it. It should have blown up and just gone from there. But they kept saying, "Well, no, it's okay. I did it because it was everybody for their own." You missed it. You built it up, and now they're
losing heat.
You have a major one-on-one match that's going to be relegated to a part of a battle royal. And battle royals set up matches. Battle royals don't conclude them. Yeah. Not if you give any attention and respect to that rivalry.
If I had to look into my crystal ball, I would say they could potentially set this up for a really nice match for SummerSlam.
It should be. It needs to. And maybe it comes down to both of them at the end, or three of them. Maybe you have Becky Lynch, Sasha, and Bayley, and Bayley eliminates Becky Lynch, and then Banks comes up and flips her up from behind or something. Something that's a little underhanded that really just blows it up. They need something.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
All right, so with that being said, we kind of gone through 3 of the matches. Let's look and see what is coming up soon from Eventide. We'll get back to you guys here in just a little bit.
Nothing brings people together quite like the movies, and every week Aaron Lopez wants you to join him in a discussion about the latest and greatest in the world of film. So grab a drink, grab some popcorn, and get comfy. Come join Aaron and friends every Thursday at The Drive-In, presented by Eventide Entertainment.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company.
Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes.
Welcome back. We are now looking at the main card. We've got a few more matches to look at, actually almost 10 of them. So we're going to get right into it. We had spoken a little bit on the U.S. Championship as potentially making its way into the pre-show, so how about we start there?
That's fine.
All right, so we got Randy Orton, the current champion, versus Bobby Roode, Jinder Mahal, and Rusev in a fatal four-way for the United States Championship. Rusev just being added in last night's edition of SmackDown to this, which, for me, I mentioned this last time when we were talking about Elimination Chamber. Or let me take that back with Fastlane. And I said, how many multiple person matches are we going to have? Well, apparently, we're going to have about 6 of them. And this one just got bigger with Rusev. I think it's the right choice. But I'm thrown for a loop at how many multiple person matches there are. Either mixed tag team, and even on one of the cases, multiple tag teams, and then your fatal four ways, your triple threats. Just seems like
getting a lot of people in on the show.
They are,
which is good. I mean, this is probably the biggest payday that they'll get all year, and I don't have a problem with it. I know it's a lot, but it's more faces you get to see.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that this is one of the matches that I really could care less how it goes. You've got 4 big, slow guys in this match. I think that we were talking about what is the match that's going to be the letdown. It could be this one. Orton usually does some cool stuff. Yeah. Rude is a great wrestler. Jinder's stiff. He's Jinder. And Rusev, although he is a better wrestler, he needs somebody quick to go off of. You can't put a powerhouse against a powerhouse. That isn't John Cena, at least. I thought his best matches were against Cena. And expect it to be gold. I don't know what to expect from this one.
Yeah, I watched the match last night on SmackDown where they set everything up and added Rusev to it, and I was like, well, okay. And I was like, I know Aaron's gonna say, here's another mixed multi-person match there, 4-way, 5-way, 3-way, 6-way. I don't know where this match goes because Randy Orton's had the belt on now. We kind of talked about last podcast that the reason I thought he was going to win that match was because this was the only belt he didn't get. I don't know where this goes. When you look at this match, do you really care who wins?
I don't care.
Is it because of the belt or the people involved?
It's the people. I think that I like the U.S. Championship. I wish John Cena still had it. I loved what they did with the Open Challenge. It actually legitimately made sense to think that anybody could answer the call. Sami Zayn came up and gave one of the best matches of his life before he got hurt at the end.
Yeah.
His match with it. You had, you even had someone like, who was it? Well, Kevin Owens. It was his way of coming up. I'm trying to remember who else did these. I want to say Tyson Kidd did one before he got hurt. I mean, you had some amazing matches that allowed literally anybody to come up. Anybody was able to come up.
Like you said, more importantly, it made the title relevant.
Well, and then you even had, I remember the Heath Slater shtick, which he came out almost every night, and then someone would bowl him over on their way, and he never actually challenged for the belt.
Yeah.
But that's Heath Slater. He's one of the funny guys. He's the Santino Marella, of this generation. He's not a bad wrestler, but he needed that. And I think that the U.S. title doesn't seem to matter right now, no matter who it's on. It's just because they're putting it on the same type of guy. Any one of these 4 guys wins, and it's the same type of guy. I think that it's the easy way to keep it on Orton. It's the even easier way to put it back on Rude. Have him take it and then take it back. And I think Jinder, his boat's definitely gone. They brought him in for trying to get India's viewership up. And Rusev, I would love it to go to Rusev, but I just don't know if they have the respect or the confidence in him.
I'm really hoping that they give Bobby Roode a real main stage push here soon. I mean, I think he's built for it. I think he's great on the mic. I really hope within the next year they try to insert him into some type of bigger title run. I think I think about some of the matches he could have with AJ Styles, or if he even fought Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. Those would be some really top-notch matches. Yeah. So I don't think they're going to put that back on him.
I don't think so either.
It's a tough question to answer.
It is.
Because, I mean, it made it a little bit more complicated when they inserted Rusev. Mm-hmm. But I almost feel like that's their way out of it being complicated, because it's like, he's hot, the fans are popping for him, let's throw the belt on him. Happy Rusev Day.
I think it could go him. We'll wait for our prediction ultimately, but it wouldn't surprise me if Rusev walked away. I think the important thing to really talk about here, and just kind of to sum this up, is I don't think it matters who it goes on. I don't think the U.S. title really runs anywhere for very long without something to, shoot it in the arm. And I don't think a Fatal 4-Way at Mania is the way to do that.
I feel like out of all, and I'm not giving a pick here yet, but I think out of all 4 contenders, if you're looking to give it, like you said, a shot in the arm, that would be Rusev. Because he's popping, the crowd's behind him, it's Rusev Day. I feel like out of the 4 people, that's the shot in the arm.
Yeah. I think that could definitely be the case, but we will see. Let's move along to the other side of things and look at the Intercontinental Championship.
Okay.
Another multiple person match. There's my little dig. I'll leave it alone at that. The Miz, current champion, against Seth Rollins and Finn Balor in a triple threat.
It's going to be a great match.
I think this is going to steal the show.
Yeah. This is going to be a great match. I mean, you got 3 people in there that are just workers. They know how to work. And I don't see... I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a really good match. I would be... If it sucked, that would be very disappointing. I would start WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
The show with this match.
Yes, absolutely. Because these 3 are the guys that will get the most excitement as far as a match that any of these matches is going to provide. This, to me, is funny that it's these 3 guys, because at Elimination Chamber, it was these 3 guys that started it. And that was the best wrestling of the match.
Yep.
Best wrestling. So this is going to, without a doubt, be just a clinic. Balor and Rollins are very technically sound. They've done a very strong build-up with both of them kind of saying, like, well, no, I'm better than... They both agree that they're better than The Miz, but who's better than the other? And you can't split the belt. So I think that this is going to be probably, in my opinion, this is going to be the best match of the night, at least from a hype and delivery.
Is it funny that The Miz is the veteran in this match?
Oh, The Miz is, to me...
He's the solid veteran in this match. Nothing against Rollins or Finn, but, I mean, Miz has been around for a long time, and I think sometimes we forget how long he's been around in WWE.
Well, because he had about a 3 or 4 year hiatus where he was there, but he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was basically, right before the whole Damian Sandow connection, they didn't know what to do with him. And the fact that Sandow went over so much is what got Miz relevant again. And then after that is where he started actually just...
Being The Miz.
Yeah, being The Miz. He's been around since Tough Enough.
Yeah.
Like early Tough Enough. Because him and Morrison...
2003, 2004.
He's a major veteran. And I think at this point, it's going to be really important for them to make sure, even if he drops the belt, to give him something to go off on. I can almost guarantee you that he's dropping the belt.
Yeah.
Because his wife's about to have a baby,
Yeah.
And literally, they were not sure if he would even be able to be at Mania because the dates were so close. He's dropping the belt. Put him out in a way that makes it, when he comes back, he can go face for a month or two before he turns again, because it's The Miz and he has to be a heel. But I think that he needs to go out with some respect, because what he's done for the Intercontinental Championship was what they tried to do when they gave it to Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and you probably won't see him till SummerSlam.
Yeah.
You know, it's a new kid. Vince McMahon is a little bit more tolerant of giving wrestlers time off nowadays. And he's put in his work. He's in some of the low spots, especially in Raw, he's carried the show.
Mm-hmm.
His
been consistently
segments
there.
are coming in on the 9 o'clock and the 10 o'clock hour because they know that he can carry the show with his segments and his matches. So yeah, I can almost guarantee that he'll drop the belt too.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see who it goes to. Let's take care of the tag team division next.
Okay.
Let's stick around with Raw since we're there, and I think this one will probably end up being a little bit longer of a conversation than the other. We have The Bar, current champions, versus Braun Strowman and an unnamed partner, which if you guys have been checking out on Facebook, Ben has let us know through his updates that we may not actually find out the partner until the night of.
Yeah, Braun. If you watched Raw this past week, he told Sheamus that I'll tell you who my partner is, but you have to pin me in the ring. Well, of course, that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we still don't know who. There are several names floating out there. I wouldn't be surprised if he even just did it by himself. The way they built him up.
I hope that they do that, and then ultimately he goes on a run, and then
that he is the tag team champion.
I think it would be
and
great.
Has both belts strapped around his waist or over his shoulders. That he's, you know, if you look at the way they built him up, you know, he's this unstoppable force. It would make sense to be like, yeah, I carry the tag team champions as one guy.
Mm-hmm. That allows you to basically have Roman do whatever he's going to do through SummerSlam, but then allow Strowman to do the same thing as a single person, and then once he's ready, he can then vacate the titles because no one can beat him, and then he can say, all right, now I'm ready to go be the Universal.
So on Raw and other pay-per-views, when we have a tag team championship match, it's two versus one.
Yes, and ultimately, I think you see New Day come back to Raw. We'll shake some things up after Mania, and we may actually see a 3-on-1 because that's happened before. We've seen that type of match, and then he'll even say, all right, I have all three of them. And then maybe that's, it takes three guys to beat him. Or maybe I don't know. I just hope that they don't put somebody like Elias with him. It doesn't make sense. No. It makes no sense for Elias or... I've even heard rumors of Big Show coming back for, a month or two. He's retired. I think that they need to be careful not to force a tag team.
The only problem I have with that is that they've been building him up for the past couple months of he's talking more, he's out there more, so it's like somebody would be a tag team partner for him, whereas when it was just Braun Strowman and he wasn't saying much and just grunting and pushing shit over, that it's like, but now that he's added a little bit more depth to his character, I wrote down Samoa Joe.
I think it could work.
They're both no nonsense. He's due to come back. That would be a big pop.
The only problem I see with that is Joe then go face, because Strowman's a face. Yeah. Not by definition, but they have him beating everybody up. Everybody loves him.
There's no boos.
No, there's no heel. It's basically, you can boo Kevin Owens and Miz. Like, you can be like, oh, that was pretty shitty. But there's nothing that Strowman has done basically since he started being this new iteration of the character. Yeah. Where you've been disappointed. Like, you enjoy everything he does. I don't see them putting him with Joe unless they have a long-term situation where to make Joe face. Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe. But I think there's too many faces currently right now. And with The Miz taking some time off, I think that
but like you,
Joe might be a long shot.
I'm not against him being by himself. Like,
I would love it.
They could totally get away with it.
Yeah. Or what they could do is they could do, like, I don't remember who it was, but it was like Kozlov and Santino, where Kozlov was doing everything and Santino was literally being carried out of the ring because he was a ragdoll. Yeah. And you just have Strowman maybe beating up his partner because he doesn't want a partner, And each match starts out with something like that.
Which you then could insert Elias.
Yeah. Because Elias is his ragdoll.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be an interesting match. The bar it's time to move on.
Yeah, they need to split because they need them separately. They have too many tag teams. The Revival is definitely going to get some love. You're going to be pulling up Authors of Pain. Maybe even Sanity. I've heard Sanity from NXT might be coming up. You're going to get some new people. You can definitely split those two up. They've done an amazing job. They basically found a place that both of them did not have. Both of their characters were getting very stale as singles competitors, and this allowed them to both come back. And really, it's, to me, the best tag teams of the last year or two have been them, the Usos, and the New Day.
Yeah.
Like, just have done an extremely wonderful job of making the division relevant.
You gotta, you have to start building up Braun Strowman's namesake.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta put a belt on him. If he's this big giant thing, he needs to have a belt on him.
He's
Whether
never
it's
had
tag
a belt.
team, he hasn't. He's come close. For a while there, you thought they were going to put the Universal Championship on him. I would have probably much rather seen that match versus Brock Lesnar than Roman Reigns. Mm-hmm. But if you're saying who he is, you have to have a belt on him. Mm-hmm. He has to have some legitimacy to his character.
Yeah, I don't know. If he doesn't win this belt, then the night after he has to attack Roman Reigns. Because he continuously has said that I'm not finished with him yet.
Well, you don't want him to fall into this pit of non-existent. Like,
yeah.
It's, what are you doing with him? Is he just going to go around each week and tip something over and beat the shit out of somebody?
They got to figure something out. All right, so moving on to the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, we have the Usos versus the New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers, with Usos still holding the belts via the Fastlane disqualification. I'm not sure what to think of this. I think it's going to be a great match.
There'll be some good spots in it.
Yeah. You've got the Usos and the New Day who have some amazing chemistry together, and we cannot forget that when it was Roman and Harper, those two had some amazing matches with the Usos before they went back to the Wyatt family.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I don't know where to go with this. I guess the Usos have been champions. The New Day were champions. I guess it's somebody else's turn.
I hope they go with the Bludgeon Brothers.
And don't you kind of feel like Roman and Luke have kind of Eric and Luke have paid their dues?
Oh, they deserve it. They absolutely do. They went off of television for about 6 months to basically become something else.
Yeah.
They went off of the radar completely. And when two people who have been in the business that long do that, it's not a short-term solution. They're trying something big. That's why I would be surprised if you saw Wyatt go missing for a while and actually be off TV and be nowhere to be found, and then maybe
they need to retool him.
I've heard rumors that Bray is going to come back as a different character completely.
I hope so. I mean, not to get off subject here, but I feel like they missed the mark with it.
They had something with him.
They didn't
take advantage of it.
If you wanted your next Undertaker, your next Phenom, whatever you want to call it, they missed the boat with that. They had quite a few opportunities where they could have went to that direction. That he could have been the guy.
Oh, was
great on the mic.
He was the guy to take over,
and they missed it. Mm-hmm. They missed it.
He should have beaten Taker.
Yeah,
that was one of Taker's.
That is, they passed the torch moment.
Yeah, that was who needed to beat Taker, because now if you want someone who has an ominous aura around them, you are banking on Matt Hardy being that, at least for the time being, because you have completely destroyed what Wyatt could have been. He was all talk. He never won a pay-per-view match until he won Elimination Chamber last year, and then got the belt taken away from him on his first major defense. He's never, ever had the dues. I love Bray Wyatt. I think he's a great wrestler.
So why are they doing that? What's the... If we're able to see this, how come they can't see that?
Well, I think that right now, and it has been a while, WWE... they use their best guys to fill the dates in between the major pay-per-views. That's why you see the Rollins, the Miz, Ziggler, Wyatt. You see the guys, they can handle the road. And then when the big matches come, they want to give it to the legacy guys. They want the guys to come back. Goldberg, Orton, Reigns is becoming that guy, but even before Reigns, Cena, Batista, Triple H, these are the big guys. So they were too focused more on that coming to fruition than they were kind of developing and allowing these blossoming stars to actually catch. When you had I
feel like they did that in early 90s where they were still holding on to the Macho Mans and the Hogans and the Warriors, but when you had people like Razor Ramon and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and 1-2-3 Kid and all these people that were like, this is the new generation, this is the next thing, and they were like, but we love our Hogans and we love our Warriors and the Macho Mans, and I feel like I kind of agree with you that they're doing that again. And I know the Goldbergs and the Rocks and the Triple H's, they sell and they get the pops and stuff like that, but if it's a wrestling match, I want to see wrestling.
Which is why I'm hoping that Lesnar goes away for a while, if not permanently. And then I'd also really hope that, I'm glad to see Goldberg retire. I want to see The Undertaker retire. A part of me says it's time because he's taking up a spot of these guys that truly do belong on the main roster. Or at least, a main card WrestleMania.
And I thought him getting beat and losing the streak was their way of like, okay, we've created an exit door for him. One more match, one more iconic match, if we can get that in there. They pass the torch, per se.
I love wrestling and I loved the WWE, but I will never, ever forgive them for not giving us Taker Sting. The one time they could have done it. They gave us...
Who did he fight that?
Taker?
Yeah.
It was Wyatt.
It's Wyatt.
He faced Wyatt that year, and Sting faced Triple H. And the Sting Triple H match was interesting. It wasn't bad. But who cares?
What could have been?
We will never get that match because Sting will not come back. He might throw an indie match here or there, but they're not going to let him come back. He's too old. It's not like Daniel Bryan, who's the young guy who can try to fight it off. Sting's done.
Yeah.
And Taker, and even if we got that match now, they're too old. And it wouldn't be what it could have been 3-4 years ago.
Now, if you go on to the WWE Network, you can see, I saw this the other night, an old, probably early 80s, mid 80s, Mark Calloway, a.k.a. The Undertaker, versus Sting in a very, very early WCW match.
Yeah.
Right before Mark Calloway jumped ship to WWE and they introduced the Undertaker character. That's all you're going to get, folks.
Yep, that's it.
Unless you got the video game and you got the downloads and
that's
you plug
not
that in.
That's not as fun. They play that up as like, oh, you can finally do it. No, you can't.
And then you send Undertaker on his way.
Yep.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Tag team?
Yeah, tag team. No, I think, but see, this kind of tells you right now, the excitement around this particular match is not that high. It's going to be a good match. I think the Bludgeon Brothers are going to probably do some damage. Whether or not they actually walk away with the belt, we'll see. They'll do some damage. They're going to stay protected either with the belt or as just a powerhouse.
Yeah.
But I think that this match is going to be more about the Usos and the New Day concluding their rivalry, at least for the time being, than it is anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right. We're getting into the good stuff now. We have 5 more matches, I believe, to talk about. Maybe 6. 6 matches. We got to get this going here. We have both women's matches, so let's take care of the women's division.
You want to talk about Alexa Bliss match?
Yeah. So Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax versus the Raw Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss, the current champion. Interesting dynamic they've put together for this match.
Yeah, and we were talking about this in the last podcast after Fastlane. We were like, okay, so if Asuka is going to go after Charlotte Flair, where does this leave Alexa Bliss? And I believe you said, well, I guess the most common thing to do is to plug Nia Jax in there, and then you have this weird match because compared to Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss is pretty small compared to her.
Yeah,
height wise,
she's
size
tiny.
wise,
she's like 1/4 of her. She's just
it's her thigh.
It is.
Alexa Bliss is Nia Jax's thigh.
She is, and I think that the build up that they've had with Mickie James being the mean girl, or Mickie James and Bliss together being these mean girls, it buys into making it. Jax is becoming a babyface. You're relating to her. You're feeling sorry. There's some empathy there. I think it's really important for that to happen because everybody likes Bliss as a performer, even though she's a heel. I think if she's going to drop it, they need to make sure that Jax is connecting to the crowd. Yeah.
Connected to the crowd, has enough credibility build up. I feel like that's why they've been inserting her into some of the main events for the women's in the past couple of pay-per-views. She had a great showing at the Royal Rumble. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this match goes, because you have two different dynamics in wrestlers. Jax being the powerhouse, Bliss being a little bit more not the powerhouse, just a little bit more athletic than Jax is. And I feel like that's what you were talking about last podcast, was just the athleticism of Jax. And sometimes it kind of seems awkward in the ring.
Yeah, and they're going to really have to... These two are best friends. They're going to put on a good match. My concern, though, is that it's going to be too scripted. It's going to fit a formula. We know Bliss is going to go after Jax's legs. That's the formula. But at what point does it become something worthy of a WrestleMania moment, or at least defining of these? Because something's going to happen. Jax is finally going to win her first championship and go on a run through SummerSlam, or Bliss is going to win it and Jax is going to fall back to the bottom of the totem pole, and it's going to be, I think Payback is we'll see a rematch or something, and she'll lose again. You don't have someone win their first belt on Payback. You get the champion to get their belt back on Payback. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting match. To me, this one could be a letdown, just because I'm very afraid of how this match is going to end up as far as the dynamic with the size difference. It could be great, but we did see Asuka put on a good match with Jax. But everybody else's opinion of this match was so much higher than mine. If you guys remember, I didn't think that was that strong of a match. I saw that Jax looked strong and Asuka came out on top, but that's what we kind of expected. How often are they going to do that, where they just make Jax look strong before Jax is the Braun Strowman of the women's division?
Yeah.
When are they actually going to pull the trigger and let her go with it for a while?
Yeah.
So,
and if you're going based on pure size, she is the biggest woman in the division. So I feel like she's credible enough to be like, yeah, I'm going to go on a run to SummerSlam at least.
Yeah.
Who are my opponents? Maybe Bliss takes a little bit of time off.
She's had the belt for a while.
Yeah. It's been almost a year.
It's been close to. Yeah. So I don't know. I think this will be a good match. I think it'll probably end up being somewhere towards the top of the card.
Yeah. You don't have this. You don't have this match after Charlotte and Asuka.
No. This one definitely happens before. I honestly think this one happens after
the opener.
Maybe not that early. I don't know. I think that it'll happen after a match because we're going to get AJ Styles Shinsuke or Brock Lesnar Roman early. One of those is going to happen in the first half. They do that, which I don't understand why they do that, but they do that. They split up the attention, because then otherwise you're putting all of it on the back end. And some people may not stick around to see the back end, especially if they've got the network and they're not paying for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it could happen after, if, say, for instance, we throw Lesnar and Reigns in the first half, which I don't know if they will, but if they do, this would be one I'd see happen after that. Kind of a lot of emotion. Going to be a good match, but it's not going to be nearly as important long term. Let's jump over to the other side. SmackDown Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair, the champion, against Asuka, undefeated still, which is very interesting because Charlotte Flair, who was quote unquote injured last night on the mixed match challenge, which that was just a play, but she is fine, don't worry. But she and Bobby Roode will be facing The Miz and Asuka, and so you have
next week, right?
Next week. So you have Asuka facing Flair the week before WrestleMania, kind of. And they have been playing this up that if Asuka and Miz lose, that Asuka's streak is gone, which I think is stupid because she has lost matches before.
Yeah.
She hasn't won a match, but she has not lost one-on-one. Her streak is fine. But apparently this counts in her streak. So I say that the mixed match challenge goes to Asuka and Miz, but then because of that, I worry. I was dead set that Asuka was going to win. But I'm kind of not sure now anymore if it depends what they want to do next, because Flair's still very dominant. If she could beat Asuka and take down the streak, Flair goes into the rest of the year as the number one woman in the business.
See, I don't know. I've been kind of on board that Asuka's gonna win, and that this is even something that they could take into SummerSlam. Like, just all summer, they just go back and forth with each other, and just, okay, the title changes here, the title changes there. Maybe they lead up to a SummerSlam. That's like one of the big matches at SummerSlam and then that's when Asuka possibly loses or ends the streak.
Could be a closer if they do it right. Because it was about 3 years ago, Flair had said on an interview that at some point she wants to main event WrestleMania. Yeah.
This could steal the show.
This could very well steal the show.
Like I'm super hyped for this show, for this match. It's going to be great. To think that it's not would be foolish. You don't know what you're talking about. These two are going to go at it.
These are the two best female performers in the WWE, top to bottom performers. I think that the flash and, for lack of a better word, the flair that Asuka brings to her entire performance and her character and her athleticism, that is amazing. And Flair has only gotten better. I was not a fan of her early on, and then it like jumped all of a sudden. I'm like, she is just amazing. Her moonsault from the top of the post at WrestleMania a couple years ago is probably one of the most iconic moments of that. And that is the year that you had Taker, who came back and faced what's his name, Shane McMahon.
Yeah, to me, Charlotte Flair is the best wrestler in WWE right now. Technicality,
gender aside,
I don't know.
Just curious.
I would put her up against quite a few of the male members.
I honestly would not mind seeing a match between her and like AJ Styles. Yeah, it'd be a phenomenal match. That would be so good.
She's technically sound. Mm-hmm. She is a great wrestler. I enjoy watching her matches. Sometimes when I watch her matches, I don't know where it's going to go. Yeah, which is a good thing. Like, you want that. Like you said earlier with the other women's match, you probably can script out what's going to happen, where it's going to happen, and then okay, there's the pin. 1, 2, 3. A lot of times with Charlotte Flair's matches, you don't know where it's going to go. Yeah. There's a lot of swerves that they like to put in there.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a good match. I know it's going to be a good match. Yeah. I think that we...
Is this they put this match on like the later half?
This is this is the second to last match of the night. Okay. This will either, depending on whatever goes up last, I think this will close the... and that's a question, as we'll talk about here toward the end, what does go on last. I don't think this one goes on last. I know this one doesn't go on last, but it'll be close toward the end. So, all right, let's get to the we got the two main ones still, but then I would say our gimmick matches of the night. We have Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, with the stipulation that if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn lose, they are fired. What do you make of this one?
I don't know, because within a week we just found out that Daniel Bryan's going to be back. That's huge. And at first I was thinking, this is the first match that he's wrestled in what, 2 years?
3
years. You cannot have him lose at WrestleMania.
Oh, no.
That would be just like hell froze over and the apocalypse. Daniel Bryan's first match back in 3 years, and he loses at WrestleMania. They will rip the place apart.
No, he will win. He has to. And if he doesn't, something big has to happen as a result of it that pushes us into, or maybe he turns, and maybe he turns on Shane. Like, he will, if he loses, it won't be because he lost the match.
Yeah. Again, if you haven't been following some of the news on Top Rope Wrestling Podcast on Facebook, Shane McMahon has been in the hospital legitimately for the past week now. He had some intestinal issues, a virus and infection in his intestines, legitimate thing. So there have been questions about his status for his WrestleMania match with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So far, I don't know. It's up in the air. There are reports out there that saying that he will probably be ready for it. I don't know if you wrestle a match, unless you're very careful with them, somebody having intestinal issues.
And Shane is a big spot guy. He's a high spot guy, so he's going to do something crazy. And if he doesn't, then why have him? That is what he has as his draw. So here's my question. Shane is unable to go. Who replaces him? Or how does that match get replaced or altered?
If I'm booking the match, I'm keeping it Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan. The underdog. The cards are stacked against him. He hasn't wrestled in 3 years. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to come out there like, he's easy pickings. And Daniel Bryan puts on a hell of a show.
So you don't have someone come in to save him?
No. That's what if I was booking this match, that's what I would do. He is the underdog. He is the classic underdog. He's going up. His partner's out. He can't make it. He is legitimately medically not cleared to wrestle. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have their way with Daniel Bryan, and then Daniel Bryan puts on a hell of a comeback. That's what I would do. You?
That's ballsy. I don't know. I honestly feel like I would say
the whole stage is for himself.
He's going to say he'll do that, and then right before the match starts, someone comes back, and I don't know who. I was thinking, who would it be? Batista. Maybe, or somebody who he doesn't like.
Like I reached out to a friend or something.
Yeah. Or, I don't even know. Maybe you see...
This is a very intriguing match.
Maybe, you know what? It would be stupid, and I'd hate it, but it would be good for the match. Kane. A little Team Hell No back in action. If it comes down to that, no one's going to be upset with Hell No.
Yeah.
Because it was
going to get a good pop.
Yeah. So that could be. It's not nearly as powerful. But Daniel Bryan and Kane back together, that's the only time I've liked Kane after the Attitude Era. He was always such a stale character to me. When he was doing his ECW thing and when he was his powerhouse, I didn't like him. But when he did Hell No, it was fun. It was Kane, the guy, Glenn Jacobs, being able to be a person rather than just a zombie the whole time. Yeah. So maybe.
There's a lot of different ways you could go with this.
There's many, many ways. One thing is for certain. Daniel Bryan is going to look good. They're not going to make him... they're not going to destroy him. They've already done that on SmackDown last week.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, this is something that the fans have wanted. This is something Daniel Bryan has wanted. You don't have him wrestle his first match and then lose.
Yeah, I think that is one thing we can guarantee. The other tag team match that I'd say is kind of gimmicky, it seems very gimmicky, mixed tag team match between Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey, and they were facing off against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon.
I guess you start with how much wrestling can Kurt Angle do? Because I feel like he would only take a match with Triple H because Triple H is a veteran. Mm-hmm. He can take care of people in the ring. And we know Kurt Angle does not have the best neck in the world.
He does not.
It's a stack of dimes.
He has wrestled, though, since he's been here. He took Reigns' place in the Shield match, whenever that was. This was about 4 or 5 months ago. So he has wrestled.
Please don't watch this match expecting the old Kurt Angle.
Yes, he's not going to be there.
Yeah.
This is ultimately going to be a way for Ronda to get her feet wet without having to hold up the entire match. It's a way for Triple H to be in WrestleMania because he comes back every year in some fashion.
And to control and direct the match.
Yes, because he is the best match general ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never seen someone who knows, and it's the reason why he ultimately will probably take over the company when Vince passes. Or retires, which is probably going to be when he passes. I think that Triple H knows the business. He knows how to put on a good match. He knows what the fans want to see. And he knows how to combine that with good wrestling.
Yeah.
So this will be a good match. It is not going to be something like Miz, Rollins, and Balor.
No.
But you're going to have near falls. You're going to have some cool things happen. You're going to see Stephanie McMahon get her ass kicked. It's going to happen.
I feel like you're probably going to see Triple H get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
By Ronda Rousey.
By Ronda, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still a little disappointed that this match is not The Rock and Ronda versus Triple H and Stephanie, calling back to when Ronda was called into the ring a couple years ago. I think that would have been the draw, but clearly The Rock is a busy guy. He's usually a lock for Mania. He hasn't been there for... Was he there last year?
Nope, it was
3 years ago.
Yeah, it was about 3 years ago.
So, it's been a while. He's no longer a lock, which is probably a good thing. It makes it more exciting when he does come back. But I'm a little disappointed that that's not the match that we got, as opposed to Angle being there.
But it makes sense. I mean, they're both... The way they set this up is fine. I'm fine with the angle that they set this up with. Again, Triple H is the best general. He'll know how to lead the match. There'll be a couple of big high spots. Mm-hmm. And again, not that we're going to get into picks right away, but she's not going to lose her first damn match at WrestleMania against Stephanie McMahon. If somehow they screw her out of this win, what service are you doing to her building credibility in the WWE?
The only way I see Ronda losing this match is if somebody else comes in to help Stephanie and Triple H. That is what pushes Ronda's next rivalry. Maybe somebody like Sasha Banks, who's tired of not being the champion, so she wants to get on. I don't want that to happen, because then that means we're going to get close to another Authority. However, I did like the Authority because it's a stable. So I didn't like the fact that they ate up probably a third of every single Raw with talking. But I did like the fact that...
and if you listen to this podcast, you know we like stables.
I love my stables. I miss them so much.
Everything.
Miss them. That's why I like the Miztourage. I wish they were bigger, and I wish they had more things to do together. But yeah,
how do you think she's going to do in the ring?
She's going to be stiff.
Yeah,
I think she's going to have probably at least one botch. She's a nervous person. She doesn't actually get to beat the hell out of somebody. She has to pull back, but look like she's giving it at all.
Yeah.
And I think she will not be bad. I think she will have a good match, but I think she is going to be a little stiff.
I also think she's the kind of person that this is important to her.
It is.
Like, I want to go out there. I want to look good. I want this to be legitimate. So I don't doubt in my mind that she's not putting 110% effort into preparing for this match and preparing for what happens after.
She is not Lesnar.
No.
She is not there for the paycheck. She's there because this is something that she feels is the next step in her lifelong career. She may never wrestle in the UFC again. I don't think she has it to wrestle. I mean, she got her ass kicked quick twice. Yeah. It's kind of like the yips in baseball. She's done, I think. But this allows her to still be athletic and be performing and be in front of crowds doing things that are resembling of what she spent her whole life doing.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Look what Kurt Angle did. That's how he continued his career. He was never going to wrestle again on that neck. But he was then able to wrestle with that neck.
I read a story one time that talked about how Kurt Angle never really watched wrestling.
He'd never. The first time okay, so this is a little side note. The very first time Angle came to a wrestling show was not WWE. It was ECW. He came to an ECW taping where Raven took Tommy Dreamer and crucified him. Yeah. And Kurt Angle went back to Paul Heyman. This is a story that you'll find on many of the documentaries. But Kurt Angle went back to Paul Heyman, and he said, "I want to make sure that you never say you take me off of this tape," because this was when ECW was still taping and then submitting and distributing. He said, "Take me off this tape. If you ever have me associated with ECW again, you'll hear from my lawyers." And that is what allowed Kurt Angle to go to WWE, because ultimately he probably had a better in with being a little bit more physical at ECW.
But he got there and was probably like, what the hell is this?
Yep. Raven crucified Tommy Dreamer, and that was it. That was that.
It was the 90s.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a good match. I am not putting it in my top 5. I think that as far as a athleticism, it'll be a good match.
And you know you're going to have a great entrance with Triple H.
Oh, yeah.
Every year it's some type of spectacle entrance.
I think we'll get a good entrance with Ronda.
Yeah.
I think that I hope they just don't have her coming down in her, smile.
Leather jacket.
Oh, God, so stupid. Give her something else. But, all right, we are down to the final 2, the big ones. I do believe that we should go with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns first, because I'm a purist and I'm a traditionalist. I think that if you win the Royal Rumble, you headline WrestleMania. You don't just get a title shot. So I'll go there. So let's go with Brock Lesnar champion against Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship.
We all know where this is going.
It's just how it happens.
It's the way it is. If you listen to ESPN or any type of sports, there are rumors and rumblings out there that Brock Lesnar does have some interest in returning to Ultimate Fighting Championship. He's had the belt on him for over a year now.
It's boring.
He's hardly ever there. Roman Reigns even made comment of this in several promos that he cut on Raw. It's even if it's Roman Reigns, and I've bitched on this podcast before about Roman Reigns and WWE stuffing him down people's throats. I'm so far beyond the Universal Championship right now that I'll even take a Roman Reigns becoming Universal Championship if that means I could see it every week on Raw.
It means nothing right now. It literally means nothing.
It's just the spectacle of Lesnar showing up and defending his title and beating him and walking home and being off TV for 4 months.
I think that Reigns needs the belt because for that reason we need to see it more. What I'm concerned about is Lesnar okay with being John Cena or The Undertaker, showing up for big matches without a belt on him?
I'm perfectly... because he's not willing to work a regular schedule.
So I would say...
that's what he's defined as.
Like, I think that...
John Cena works a bigger schedule than him.
He does. And he hasn't had a belt since the U.S. title, which was quite a while ago.
Chris Jericho was working a more long-term schedule than him.
You just said Chris Jericho might come back to be Bryan's partner. He's got history with all of those guys.
I think you're reaching.
I hope I'm not. Actually, I think Chris Jericho's going to be on a cruise.
Yeah, he's touring.
He's got his tour stuff going on right now. But yeah, I think that this is an easy call that Lesnar loses the belt. It's how does he lose it, and does he come back? I don't know if Lesnar... I mean, his contract is up soon.
After WrestleMania.
He may just be done.
Yeah.
And they may not tell anybody that and make a big deal of it the next night. Because if some people are upset with Reigns winning, then they can say that he look what he did. He put Lesnar out.
Last year...
Some people have definitely lost their interest in Lesnar.
Last year, he beats The Undertaker. This year, he beats Brock Lesnar. So, I mean, I don't know what else you have Roman Reigns do.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, he has not yet beat Cena.
He has not.
So there's your match. I thought that was going to be their match this year. But it'll happen. I think that at some point, Reigns needs to get a CM Punk-like reign. Otherwise, what's the point? He needs something where it's like he actually can be seen as a long-term threat who doesn't just get beat up and, just completely dismantled. Then ultimately, John Cena's, his way into a win where he has no business winning. Losing the matches he should win and winning the matches he should lose. It needs to change at some point.
So going forward, and I know we're kind of jumping ahead because the night after WrestleMania on Raw is always such a big thing. Can you give me 3 people? Reigns wins. Mm-hmm. Let's say he's at least champion till fall. Okay? Can you give me 3 people right now, off the top of your head, that you would want to see challenge him?
Yeah, Ambrose. He's coming back soon.
He's coming back.
Ambrose. We still have not gotten our Ambrose versus Rollins versus Reigns, have we?
That'd be a great SummerSlam match.
That's what. So there's 2.
Yeah.
And then Balor. Or since Balor's going to probably be in the situation of or Rollins being the champion, or Intercontinental, maybe somebody like I don't know. Elias even getting a shot. Put Elias into this top spot for 2 months and see what he does.
Yeah.
If he bombs, set him down.
Give him like a Money in the Bank match for the championship.
I also could see if they split doing something like Sheamus or Cesaro. Cesaro would be great.
Yeah.
In a one-on-one.
Yeah, I'm looking at possibly if you don't do like Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam, you got to throw Braun Strowman in there.
Depends on what they do.
Because they have a history.
They do have a history.
They have a very violent history. Like, they've had some very intense matches. I think that's like the last time I really saw like Roman Reigns manhandled.
And I loved it.
Was him putting him in that ambulance.
That was the best. That was the best Raw promo segment of the last year. It was amazing.
I mean, I don't know who else. If you look at who Roman Reigns
Cass or
has
Joe.
Possibly.
It just depends. A lot is going to depend on how people get pushed the night of Mania.
Yeah.
If Joe doesn't come back during, or if Cass or Joe don't come back, I could see Samoa Joe coming back for Reigns.
Yeah.
That is a rivalry that makes sense.
That'd be a good match.
I think that would be awesome. I want to see Rollins and Ambrose and Reigns in a triple threat for the title, on a big scale. It makes sense. They were the Shield before Ambrose got hurt. Have them be the Shield again. But this time it's Reigns who kind of doesn't want it to be, because they're brothers, but he finally has his belt. He can't give it up now. So, all right, we got one more match. Technically two, but I think we're going to kind of gloss over this final one. But we have Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles for the WWE title, with it being currently held by AJ Styles. This is a dream match, without question.
If you've watched the previous matches that these two have had, like on the independent circuit, New Japan, you're going to be in for a show. They're going to pull out all the stops with this match. This match will not disappoint. I'm in total agreement with you that this should be last. Not only the fact that, the winner of the Royal Rumble main stage is WrestleMania, but just based on the matchup, this should be last.
This is a match that we have never seen in the WWE. Taker and Cena we've seen. We have seen Lesnar and we've seen Reigns. We have never seen this in the WWE.
Yeah. And it goes back to what we talked about last time in the podcast, where what do you want your last WrestleMania moment to be as the network and the show's fading off? Do you want Roman Reigns holding up the title and pointing to the sign and half the crowd booing, half the crowd cheering? Or do you want Nakamura or AJ Styles, where I feel like both of them will get cheers no matter who's the winner?
Which makes me think that it's going to be neither of those. I think it's going to be Taker and Cena. And I think Cena will lose. I think if that match happens, which I'm almost positive.
I haven't thought about that.
Cena
That's the
will
first
lose.
time you've put that in my head.
Undertaker will win his final match.
Yes, but I'm talking about going on last.
Yeah, and I think that if that's the case, Taker wins, and this time he leaves the ring with his stuff.
Yeah,
and I think that that was our final last year.
Yeah.
But he wins his final match. And it allows us to say goodbye in the right way. He is healthier than he's ever been, from what people have said. He had hip surgery. It's why he hasn't been seen. He's been rehabilitating. Taker's potentially healthy enough. He just had
a birthday.
Yeah, I know. He's gonna be
in his mid to late 50s.
He is the biggest star in WWE history. He's bigger than Hogan. He's bigger than Andre. He is the defining character that represents WWE. If
he would be on the Mount Rushmore,
he is Mount Rushmore. Yeah, I think that
he has carried the company during dark times. He carried the company, helped carry the company during the Monday Night Wars. The WCW could have easily wooed him away, but he stayed. Undertaker was the constant in WWE. Undertaker was the constant every WrestleMania. You knew you were going to get an Undertaker match, and you knew it was going to be pretty good. So, thinking about what you just said, I'd actually be okay with that being the last match. I know I was just a minute ago harping on this needs to be the last match because of just the matchup. Well,
and now here's the thing: if Taker loses, it should not be the last match. If he wins, it's the last match.
Do you really see him losing?
If he has got a plan to come back for another year or two, which he could, if he's healthier than he's been, the last 2 years his matches have not been that great. His last good match was the year before Lesnar.
Yeah.
And I think who was that?
CM
Punk, and that was a great match.
Yeah. The
problem is that he's had a couple bad ones and he's older, so people are thinking he's done. I don't. If his hip is as good as they say it is, he's not done. But if he does leave, it's going to be him going out on top at the end of WrestleMania.
And that gives a moment for John Cena to take a time out, go do some movies, and then come back possibly for SummerSlam. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, and I kind of hope that it's not his last match because, for me, I said it earlier, I think it's time for Undertaker to retire, but I never want it to happen. I think, though, that if he's going to go out, he should go out on top. Give him... And there's no question about it. Vince will give him the final match when it's his last match.
Let him go, Aaron. Just let him go.
Let him go.
Let him go off into the sweet sound of retirement.
No.
Never. Wait, are we still talking about the AJ?
We kind of forgot about that. Let's go back to that one.
Let's go back to that.
Then we need to get our predictions in here. I think that we don't even need to talk about it.
It's going to be a great match.
It's going to be so strong. We don't have to. There's no build up. It's two amazing wrestlers, both faces, who have the entire support of the WWE universe. There's no reason why this match is going to be a letdown.
Nope.
And it doesn't matter who wins.
Nope.
The money should be on Shinsuke because of how hot he is and because it feels like a passing on a little bit of something new. But also, we can't assume anything because of how strong Styles has been since he debuted. And
with a match like this and with the two people that you have in the match, this could carry over to SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah.
They could fight all summer. And I would be okay with it because these would be epic matches the whole summer.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. I think that, and as far as it goes, is if Taker loses and he is planning on coming back next year or the next couple of years, this goes up last. But Shinsuke goes up last with Styles.
Okay, so let's jump around a bit. If Taker loses, does John Cena really need that?
He doesn't need it, but Taker doesn't need it unless he's leaving.
Who needs it more? Like Taker going out with a win on his own, kind of a passing the torch to him, John Cena.
Unless John's ready to retire. He's not as old, but you have seen him in more movies in the past year. Yeah. He's going the Rock way. He'll still come back, but maybe he's ready to say, like, I'm gonna only come back maybe once or twice a year. Yeah. In that case, maybe then, Cena loses, but not because it's Taker, but because he needs an out for a little while.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a tough decision. They still haven't announced the match.
It's still, we're talking about this match as a hypothetical. It may not actually happen.
It may just be John Cena sitting in the front row of WrestleMania. Yeah. They haven't matched. If you watched Raw last Monday, he had a match versus Kane, the Undertaker's brother. And throughout the match, John Cena was kind of taunting the Undertaker. He did the slice of the throat, and he rose up from the mat like the Undertaker does. So I feel like the place would riot if they didn't have this match. If it was just this build up and this build up and this build up, and they're like, he did not actually show up. Mm-hmm. John Cena's just going to sit here and eat his popcorn and watch WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to happen. I just don't know exactly where or when or how it's going to go, but it'll happen.
And if Undertaker comes back next year, like you just said, who does he face? Or do you want to go out with one of the other best in the company, the mainstays in the company, putting you over?
If he comes back next year, I see him going up against somebody like Finn.
Yeah.
A younger guy who's not completely young, maybe Braun. Somebody who needs a win against Taker. Who is not just somebody who, like, Lesnar needed the win against Taker to be the Lesnar that we knew for the past 3-4 years. Yeah. Of being literally, who can touch him? Reigns needed a win over Taker to be the next face of the company. Say, I put him away. It depends who they see needing it. Taker's going to go out. If it's up to him, he's going out with a loss because he wants to put somebody over. He was the one who chose to let Lesnar go over.
Yeah, you're right.
If he has the choice, if it's not his choice though, it's Vince's. And if Vince says no, you've done too much, we're letting you go out on top, then it might be this year. Because I don't know if there's anybody else that necessarily even the match against him would be enough. I think they need a win if they're going to face him. Cena doesn't need the win.
No, he doesn't.
So he can lose. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Cena's just doing this to be at WrestleMania.
So, and it's a marquee matchup that is going to be a fun match. Cena's reinvented himself as a wrestler over the past couple of years, and Taker's healthier. So it's going to be a good match. It's not going to be, the best match in the world, but it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
So,
real quickly, do we see a Money in the Bank cash in?
Yeah, Carmella is going to, I think that's kind of in the plans that she's going to cash in maybe right after the match.
On Nia Jax?
Oh, no. No, she's going to do it on Asuka. But you bring up a good point. Does it have to be? It could be against anybody.
Yeah.
Carmella could walk out with the belt.
It's for a championship shot.
Yep. Carmella could walk out with the belt.
You come in, then that just goes back to you saying earlier about, we'll have the belt on Nia Jax for a hot half an hour, and then boom, the belt's
Do
off.
what they did to Daniel Bryan the first time.
Yeah.
And they did it to Reigns, too. Daniel Bryan lost it to Orton, and Reigns lost it to Sheamus.
Yeah.
She finally gets it, and then gets taken away.
Yeah.
That easily could happen, because you could see Bliss freaking out, beating her with a chair, taking out her legs after winning, and then Carmella comes in. No one's expecting Carmella to cash in there, because she's on SmackDown.
But isn't she kind of running out of time, too?
She's got, I think, until July.
Yeah.
It's right before SummerSlam, I believe. So she's got a little bit of time, but...
And that always gets a big pop.
Oh, yeah.
The fans always love to see that happen.
And even if she cashes in and loses, which might happen as well.
Yeah.
Against both Asuka, Flair, Bliss, or Jax, I think we may see it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's go down the line here.
We're ready for our picks.
Are we going to skip? Or let's go ahead and see. Well, maybe we'll get lucky. Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Who are you picking?
I am going with Big Cass.
I would like to do that one, but that's your pick. I didn't even think about it until you said it. I'm going to go Ziggler. I'm going to go Dolph Ziggler. He made the decision to stick with the company instead of going over to New Japan, where I think he would have done better. And I think that they are going to reward him with a very pointless Andre the Giant trophy.
Yep.
So there you go. Women's Battle Royal.
Who you got?
I'm going to go with Sasha Banks.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Sasha Banks. Does she need it? No, I don't think anybody needs it, really. But I think I'll go Banks.
I am too going with Sasha Banks.
Oh, man, I don't want Banks anymore. No, I'll stick with Banks. Dark Horse, though, you might get somebody from Absolution who might sneak in there.
Yeah.
Sonya Deville could be a good sneaky pick.
Did you see her and Ronda Rousey going at it?
Oh, she got her butt whooped.
Yeah.
It was ugly. But yeah, I'll go Banks.
Okay.
Usos and New Day and Bludgeon Brothers.
I am going with the Bludgeon Brothers. Just to the fact that we pointed out earlier, it's time to put the belts on somebody new. They paid their dues. The New Day's stale. Usos is stale. Not from a match standpoint, but just like, you guys have been champions for a while. We got too much, and we've said this both podcasts. There's too much competition. Yeah. On both the Raw and the SmackDown, there's too much competition. So let's put it on somebody new. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Usos by way of disqualification. I think that Bludgeon Brothers are going to still have problems not beating somebody with a mallet. At which point, then we'll see this match again at Payback, no DQ. Okay. So there's my pick. Cruiserweight Championship, Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. Who you got?
I'm going Mustafa Ali.
I'll go Alexander because it's a toss-up, and let's just see what happens. Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax.
I'm going Nia Jax.
Do you see a cash-in with this one?
I do see a cash-in. Okay. That's my theory. Like you said earlier in what we just discussed, there's no contractual thing that has to be a SmackDown championship or a Raw championship. It's a championship for any date. Yep. And I don't see them stealing the thunder from Charlotte and Asuka in the end of that match with a cash-in.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then what? Then, okay, Asuka wins and Carmella cashes it in, and all of a sudden her streak's over with?
Yeah, I mean,
a minute
if
match?
If she cashes in on Asuka, she loses. Yeah. If she cashes in on the Raw, she has a shot. Yeah. I'm going to say we get a cash in, but I'm going to say it's going to be on Bliss. I think Bliss is going to win this. I think that if they're going to have Nia Jax win the belt, I think that it's going to stay on her. I think they want to protect her. They've been protecting her entire career so far. I don't think it's going to change yet. So I think that we'll have Bliss as a winner, and we'll see a cash in on and I'll say Carmelo wins it. I think Carmelo's gonna walk out with the belt, because you can't have both Money in the Banks lose. Corbin lost his, would kind of lose a little bit of the point of it. All right, moving up the ladder, The Bar versus Braun Strowman and his unnamed partner.
I'm going Braun Strowman. I don't see how you keep it on The Bar. I kind of agreed with what you said earlier about time that kind of split them up, let it goes back to a singles route. And you have to have legitimacy to Braun Strowman.
Agreed.
Whether he has a partner or not, you got to put a belt on him.
Yeah, and I think that he is going to end up with a partner. I would love to see him not and just take it for himself. I don't know who it's going to be. It would make sense for it to be somebody like a Samoa Joe or a Big Cass or even an Elias, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it makes sense for him to be with one of those characters because you can see a storyline develop from that. But I think that whoever he tags with, or if it's himself, I think Braun walks out with the belts in some way. United States Championship match: Orton versus Bobby Roode versus Jinder Mahal versus Rusev. I'm going Rusev Day.
Yeah, Rusev Day. Me too.
I think that this is the Daniel Bryan moment of this Mania.
We kind of dissected it a lot about an hour ago. You go with what makes sense and what's hot right now. And like you said earlier, Randy Orton's kind of been past that. It's not drawn as much. Bobby Roode, Jinder Mahal is just meh. Rusev, he's hot. You put him on him. He adds another layer to his character.
Yep.
I'm Rusev. I'm all in.
Yeah, I think this is a Rusev Day, and this gives him something to go with. I think that he's been kind of stale, but he's been waiting for something, and this allows him to go ahead and be cocky and be a heel, because he's still a heel even though everybody loves him, and give a little bit of love to Rusev. So the other side, on Intercontinental Championship, Miz versus Rollins versus Balor.
I'm going Seth Rollins, only for this reason. It's setting up an intriguing match with Dean Ambrose, because Dean Ambrose was the Intercontinental Champion before The Miz took over.
Yeah.
So I think this will set up a nice match between Rollins and Ambrose. Coming back, wanting his Intercontinental title back, kind of get him back in the picture. Who better to have? I mean, if I'm looking at the three names on the list, I would like to see Dean Ambrose fight Seth Rollins.
Yes.
So that's where I'm going, is that this is a lead up to a match possibly at SummerSlam between him and Seth Rollins.
I'm going to go... oh, man. Part of me almost said we're going to swerve it and let Miz win it and then vacate the title and say he didn't lose, because then it gives him a way to come back. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with a Miz as the winner. He's going to retain.
But now you're adding layers to it.
And I'm adding some layers to it, but I think he retains, and then I think we do see him vacate the title.
Because he has been talking a lot about slowly approaching the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. And
yeah, I'm going to say Miz keeps it. Something that happens in WrestleMania is everybody expects big wins, like, the new champions. It's about a 50-50 split. We get a lot.
Not many title changes.
There's not as many title changes. A lot of people win them, and a lot of people keep them. So I think this is going to be one of those where we see Miz keep the belt, and that adds, because I want to see more of this trio. I don't want this to be a one-off.
Yeah.
So, Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn.
Daniel Bryan, like I said earlier, I don't see how you have his first match in 3 years at WrestleMania, the biggest stage of them all, and have him lose. To who his partner is going to be, whether Shane McMahon's able to actually physically wrestle, or somebody else shows up, or he has to carry it on his own shoulders. Daniel Bryan, man, if he doesn't win that match and they just kick the shit out of him at the end, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of pissed off fans. But the pop that he will get if he secures a pin or puts him in a submission hold, and they tap out. Oh my god, that place is going to be so loud and very emotional too.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't not have Daniel Bryan not win this match.
So I'm going to have Daniel Bryan not win this match.
What the hell?
I don't see a way for them to fire Owens and Zayn. Because if they lose, they have to...
Then why can't they hop back over to Raw like you said last podcast?
Well, I know. I mean, they're fired from the company, not just SmackDown. So here's what I have. I have Daniel Bryan turning on Shane, because they've got bad blood. I say Shane shows up, and this is a short match. Daniel Bryan goes, and he gets to wrestle for a while. And then he pops Shane in, and then twist. He turns heel, because Daniel Bryan, everybody loves him. Everybody loves him. So what does the company do? They make everybody hate him. Because they won't do that to Reigns. I don't know. I'm going to do something different. I think Daniel Bryan's going to turn on, and Shane will get pinned, or whoever it is. Let's say Shane McMahon gets pinned, and Daniel Bryan keeps it going because I think that it only makes sense. I don't see a storyline that works with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn losing.
Out of all the matches on here, is this the hardest for you to pick, or because
it is? I'd say
not a clear match
because with Shane, with the stipulation of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn losing, going to another, or either going to the other company or dropping completely, I really don't see. I just don't see that happening. I think they're both suited for SmackDown. They haven't been on there very long, and I think that now that Bryan can wrestle, there's the start of a faction, or there's the start of a stable of Bryan and Zayn and Owens, the independents.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Like, these guys who are angry with the company who didn't let him wrestle for 3 years. The company that when he was ready after 7 months to come back said, no, you're done, and made him retire and made his life living hell. To me, it's like, there you go. That writes itself. So, I don't know. I can be very convincing, but I think Bryan's going to turn. It makes too much sense for it to be such a big moment, and then for them just to leave it at that. It is in New Orleans too, where he won a couple years ago.
That's true.
So there you go. There's my pick. Shane McMahon gets pinned by Owens or Zayn as a result of Bryan.
Your match picks got more detail than the JFK conspiracy.
And makes more sense too.
If you guys can't see right now, he's got a flow chart up. Dissecting the Daniel Bryan match to how this is going to go down. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. All right, we got 4 more. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka.
I'm going Asuka.
Yeah, the streak continues. I think Asuka takes it. Flair's doesn't need the win. Asuka does.
No. Again, this could be a payback pay-per-view. This could be a Money in the Bank. This could be a SummerSlam rematch.
Yeah. We'll get a rematch, and we'll... Honestly, that... I don't know. I don't know if Asuka continues on past that, but I know for certain that she's going to win here. Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon.
Rousey Angle. I mean, you don't bring her in with all this hype and then have her lose her first match to Stephanie McMahon and Triple H.
Yeah, if Daniel Bryan turns, then Kurt Angle and Rousey definitely win. If he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if Triple H and Stephanie win here for something to kind of screws her over a little bit. I don't think you have Bryan and Ronda lose this next week. But I'm going to go with it and say that because Bryan kind of loses here technically and turns, that we'll see Angle and Rousey win here. AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura.
It's such a tough match to pick. Both of them are up. Mm-hmm. Their stock is up. They're hot. I'm going Nakamura just to see where this goes. Again, this can be a matchup that could go all summer, in my opinion. But AJ's had the belt for a while now. He's defended it pretty well. Throw it on Nakamura. See what he can do.
For that reason, because it's going to be a fight that goes on all summer, I'm also going to pick Shinsuke. If Styles in their first matchup beats him, there's no reason for Shinsuke to get a rematch.
Yeah.
If Shinsuke wins, then Styles can, and they can go back and forth.
And here's the thing. Put it on Nakamura, see what he does. You know what Styles can do. Mm-hmm. If it's not floating well after a few months, put it back on Styles.
Yeah, I agree. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. I'm going to go Reigns easily here because I just can't stand. I cannot stand Lesnar with this belt.
Yeah, I'm going to go Roman Reigns too. They've been setting this up for almost they're over a year now. This is what they want. Have that Universal belt back on a full-time guy. I know as much as you disdain Brock Lesnar, he has served his purpose in the WWE. Even though I feel like his appearance dates are getting fewer and fewer.
Time to go.
It's time to take a break. Go refuel yourself. Do something else. Because I feel like if he had more of a hunger for it, he would have more dates.
Yeah, he doesn't care. Yeah. He's in it for the paycheck.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He would wrestle at every pay-per-view if it was that, and then he just wouldn't do any major matches or like Raw ones. No, he comes in for the big ones, like the live at Madison Square Garden. He comes in for those. That's all he cares about.
He'll be at that Royal Rumble.
He'll be at the Royal Rumble, and that might be his last match. We'll see. That's going to be
April.
In April, yeah.
Yeah, the greatest Royal Rumble.
And then the last match, Taker versus Cena.
Supposedly. I'm going Taker. This is it. Last ride.
Yeah, I agree.
And I feel like John Cena is the type... I know I rail on John Cena sometimes, but I feel like John Cena is also the type of guy that would do anything to put over The Undertaker in his final match as best as he could.
Yeah. No, I think that if... I'm going to say this is Taker's last match, even though I just got done saying that it wasn't. And as a result, I think that this is going to be Taker with a win. What is your final moment that you see as the camera fades out? What is it fading out on?
Well, you kind of screwed me over because I was totally looking at Shinsuke Nakamura and his violin music going off and him up on the turnbuckle and strong style and the WrestleMania. But then when you said Undertaker Cena, I'm like, well, shit. Yeah, he's right. I'm going Undertaker. That'd be it. I mean, I didn't think of it. Maybe because they haven't officially announced the match yet. But when you said it on here, that's what I would want to see.
Yeah.
As somebody that grew up watching wrestling in the late 80s, early through the 90s, and that's what I want to see. I am of the Undertaker generation of wrestling, and if he's going out, that's his moment. And I could Vince would do that.
Yeah.
Vince, that's his guy. That's been his constant.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is going to be our final moment. If I am correct in my prediction, if we are correct in our prediction that Taker wins this match, I believe that it is going to be the final thing we see. We see Taker walking up the ramp, and we see the entire locker room meeting him at the top.
Him and John Cena will probably have a hug.
Yep. I think it'll be more obvious that yes, he is retiring if the locker room comes out.
It'd be like that 4 or 5 WrestleManias ago with Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
Any surprise guests you think will pop up? Any surprise old timers?
Old timers?
Like I know a couple years ago it was Stone Cold and Hogan and The Rock.
I think Stone Cold maybe makes an appearance. Stone Cold may make an appearance. They could throw Hogan at us. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But I think this is more about the matches. You can't spend 15 minutes on a promo with somebody. No. So I think the surprises are that we get a return from somebody like Joe or Cass. We see a cash in. And we see a big heel turn by Bryan. Yeah. Those are my big shocks for the night. They're not about extra people showing up. Maybe see a little bit of JBL and Farouk. A little bit of that. I don't know.
Probably Shawn Michaels sprinkled in there somewhere.
Maybe.
Yep.
So, all right. So that is it. We've kind of given you our picks. We've given you a quick rundown. In just a short couple of weeks, we will be back with a post WrestleMania review. We'll talk about everything. Were we right? Were we wrong? Was my my flowchart off with Daniel Bryan, or was it actually we're working out pretty well? That will be coming up to you guys in a couple weeks. Until then, enjoy WrestleMania. Grab some buddies and have a good time. It should be a good pay-per-view.
Yeah, and there's going to be tons of news coming out before WrestleMania, the week of WrestleMania, and the weekend and the day of. So please, if you're looking for news, information, Top Rope Wrestling Podcast at Facebook. It's updated daily. And that's where you can get your wrestling information.
Sounds good. Guys, enjoy your WrestleMania 34, and we will see you in a couple weeks.